Hey, thanks for joining us. We hope these video resources will be useful tools for those of you who are seeking help and support in terms of navigating difficult conversations, de-escalating tensions within a small group setting or within your family, or just figuring out ways to have healthier conversations in general. The first skill that we're going to get into is de-escalating arguments as a mediator. So not as somebody who's involved in the argument personally, but who may be watching an argument unfold or an argument simmer into something really hot. How many of us have found ourselves in that position of being a reluctant spectator of an argument kind of erupt before our eyes? Many of us were probably sitting there uncomfortable, hoping and praying that this will just blow over. Um, some of us may have even felt like, hey, I wish I knew what to do in this situation to de-escalate that tension, right? So that we can put a stop to this before really hurtful words are exchanged and where people are walking away feeling harmed and aggrieved. So to have that skill in your back pocket and to help you cultivate it and put that into practice, I'm going to invite my friend Ryan Nakade, who will walk us through these three skills. Hey, Ryan, thanks for joining us.
Hey, yeah, my pleasure. Okay, so the three skills. The first skill involves paraphrasing and clarifying what people have said. So by paraphrasing and reflecting back, it shows that the mediator is making an effort to understand people, and it helps the participants to feel heard and understood. The second skill involves asking powerful, non-loaded, open-ended questions. Now, these questions are to unearth the life experiences, the needs, the values, and the real deeper factors that are animating someone's perspective or opinion. And asking these questions allows us to get beneath the surface of escalating tit-for-tat dialogue towards a deeper, more meaningful, and more personable conversation. And the last skill involves asking my favorite question, which I call, and mediators call, the magic question. And the magic question is simply asking someone, what do you want the other side to understand about your point of view that you don't feel like they understand yet? And you'll see that when you ask different parties in a conflict the magic question, it can instantly clear up any misunderstandings and allow people to really feel heard and understood, even if they still ultimately disagree with each other's conclusions. So that's why the magic question is so powerful and so effective. So now we're going to do a little demonstration and show some of these skills in action and what it's really like to de-escalate arguments and destructive conflict from the perspective of a mediator in a group.
Hey guys, thanks for showing up to Bible study again this week. And I've been really enjoying the last sermon series that Pastor John has been doing, right? About like family and like love and how to model like agape love to one another within a family setting. And I don't know, like for me, my personal takeaways have been like around, whenever he talks about like parental love and like the role of the parent in a family and, how do we model God's love as parents, right? And I just want to open it up to you guys. Like, what have you guys been taking away?
I love the fact that we're even having the conversation because for so long, I'm a grandparent now, and I wished I would have been able to have these conversations when we were parenting our kids and had been able to sit down in a small group and talk about how as a church we should respond to it. So I love what he's sharing. I love the content.
Yeah, for sure.
See, I'm a parent, so it also spoke to me. And what I enjoyed was he said that God is sovereign over us. We are his children. And for me, I am sovereign over my children. And it spoke to me because this week I heard that the school board, they are introducing sex education to 5 years old. I mean, I don't know what's going to be in it, and I'm sure it's not biblical. And it's just been,
Well, I'm a public school teacher, and I think that it's important that we're teaching these kids. I mean, if you're not going to teach them at home, someone's got to do it. Someone's got to pick up the slack. I mean, these kids need to know.
I mean, that's what I'd expect a public school teacher to say. You obviously are also okay with indoctrinating my children. I don't like the implication that I somehow am not going
You'd
to
have-
appropriately raise my children with a
Okay,
sexual
well,
ethic.
It's incredibly ignorant to just totally avoid this topic.
Avoid to do what the Bible says about it, as if you are going to teach my children. I just can't even. This is this is what
the
happens
best
in this
interest
church.
of your children.
I can't.
I don't know what kind of parent would
I can't believe that there are people in church who have opinions like this. I don't think this is representative of our church body at all. I mean, do you think she should be in here letting indoctrinating our kids in this?
So it sounds like, let me just pause for a second so I make sure you're understanding what you're saying. So there's a few things that you said about being a parent, and you had mentioned sovereignty and concern about what's happening in the schools, and especially in terms of what could be introduced to your kid. Did I get that right?
Yeah, I think my son's just starting kindergarten soon, and I will be 8 hours a day. I'm not going to see him, and up until now, I know he's a lovely boy, and I just don't know what's going to happen. With people like her.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. I wanted to go to you because I know that you were saying some things seemed important to you. So it sounds like you're a teacher.
Yeah.
And so you have a certain perspective on education around the importance of education or making people, children and families aware of some of these things. Can you just say more about that and where you're coming from with that? Yeah.
I'm a public school teacher. I've gone to public school my whole life. And I just think it's super important that we are giving these kids a full education on the best that we can of all of the information we have to offer in their best interest to make sure that they're fully prepared for the real world.
Yeah. What are your thoughts to what she had just said in terms of helping to prepare kids for the world as the kind of value there?
Well, I think obviously we both agree this is for the well-being of children. I just don't trust, the city of Portland to decide what is good for my children. I think, as I am sovereign. I know what God wants for them, so I should be the one to tell them.
So it sounds like what I heard is there is actually a point of agreement. Maybe an agreement around the underlying value, but a different way of getting there. There were some institutional differences with trust or how you think this is going to be carried out. But it does sound like there is some agreement there. Is that right?
Yeah, I know she doesn't want to hurt kids. I may have spoken too rashly earlier, but I suppose that's true.
Yeah. So I really appreciate the discussion here. And to kind of put a bow on this section, I want to ask you, in this conversation and more generally, what do you feel like is misunderstood about your perspective that you would want someone who doesn't agree with you to understand?
I think that my perspective, just because it doesn't agree necessarily with what some people, you said, you were going back to like the Bible and God, like just because it's contrary to that doesn't mean that I don't think it has a place. I just think that the in the public schools, they also have an obligation to kids to teach something else alongside.
So it sounds like you're kind of holding different sets of values.
Yeah, there's still place for your beliefs alongside my responsibility as a teacher.
Great. Yeah. Thank you. And how about for you? What's something that you would want more understanding around and more consideration around your point of view that you feel like is often not understood immediately?
Yeah, I think especially you're a public school teacher. You seem very lovely. Not all public schools are like you, or not all public school teachers are. As you know, obviously you're a Christian. You're here with us, so I think for parents we just get worried not knowing what's happening with our children. So I think more information from the schools is what I want you to know.
Okay, so back to the Bible leader.
Well, thanks, Ryan, for helping me out there, because I was really in a bind and I wasn't sure what to do. I just want to note a few things about what we just saw, right? Ryan intervened at a point where he may have felt that the temperature was going up to a point where, oh no, if we do not intervene right now, this is the point of no return. Ryan, how did you kind of discern when to kind of jump in?
Yeah, I think there was something she was saying. It started going a little bit more personal in the direction about the church or about the community that I felt would be, if we continue in that direction, there might have been some more harmful direct interpersonal ramifications, not so much abstract ideological statements. And that was kind of where I thought, maybe I should say something. I also tend to look at how the dynamic is going, and if it doesn't seem to be cooling off on its own, it seems to be ratcheting up or escalating, then after several rounds, I'll I like to interject. And my interjecting phrase is usually, let me stop so I really understand what you're saying. It's instead of being like, shut up, be quiet, you're being too loud, or that kind of thing. Yeah.
So hopefully what you guys just saw in our simulation will give you some sense of like when and how you can apply the 3 skills we just covered in the short teaching series that Ryan led concerning de-escalating arguments as a mediator. I clearly did a poor job as a mediator in de-escalating that argument, so I'm really glad that I have my friend Ryan here to kind of help with that. But hopefully these tools will be useful for you all in whatever context you find yourselves. Thanks.